Did you just get stranded by your 2013 or 4th generation Honda CR-V because you can't turn the steering wheel? It suddenly became really hard, or you were driving and you could barely turn the steering wheel? Well, you found the right video because I'm gonna take you through how I was able to fix this Honda CR-V and its steering problem, and what I had to do to get it diagnosed correctly and get me to a point where I could fix it myself and save hundreds of dollars, if not over $1,000 in repairs. Now, before we get too far into the video, I want to let you know that there's no shame in paying a professional to diagnose something that you just can't. You're still going to do the repair yourself, and you're going to save hundreds, if not potentially $1,000 or more. You have to be able to know when you're in over your head. That is the best quality of any true DIYer. And that's what happened here. I went through some basic testing and soon found out that it would be best to take it to the dealership and pay a professional to diagnose it. Once that was done, I was able to save more than $1,000 on this job. Let me explain. So the CR-V drives up to my driveway perfectly fine. No issues that are apparent, no obvious things. The customer complains that they've lost steering once or twice, unable to move the car, but if they went ahead and put the key in, shut off the car, played with the steering wheel, then turned it back on, sometimes the steering would come back. At other points in time, they would get a small light that would appear on the dashboard that had a steering wheel and an exclamation point, and it was yellow or orange from their description. Now, none of this was obvious when they brought in the car. Very difficult for a DIYer to troubleshoot. Now, what I did go ahead and do was go grab my scanner, plug it in, and went to see what was going on. I really didn't get a lot of information. There were some remaining codes regarding the EPS module maybe being on or off or something being disturbed. But that code or those sets of codes only tell you that something's wrong with either the EPS module or the small electronic motor for the steering assist, or it could go beyond that. Very difficult for somebody to troubleshoot. So the next thing to do is to keep it simple and start with the fuses. Now, for safety reasons, let's go ahead and de-energize the vehicle's electrical system by taking off the negative post. Oh crap, look at that. It's all dirty. I got some work to do. And you could take off the positive post if you'd like to, just as I did here, just so that the car is completely de-energized. All right, you're gonna have to open up your hood just like that, and your fuse box that's inside the engine is right here. You have to take this cover off. So let's go ahead and do that. We're gonna pry this one this way. We're gonna pry this one in like this. And there you go. We exposed the fuses and some of the relays. And the fuse that would most likely be affected by the power steering, or potentially the EPS module, that's the electric power steering module, is going to be this big one right here. You see this guy right there? You take these two screws and it's going to be that guy, and it is going to be most likely fuse 7. So this is a multi-fuse, multiple fuses in one large bar, and you've got two connections, these two Phillips. And 7O, I believe, is the one that affects the power steering. So as we go ahead and look at this cover, on the bottom there's a sticker there, and that sticker tells you what each fuse does. And there's that multi-fuse right there. It's got 100 amp and all kinds of different amperages there for different things. There's the main fuse, the EDPS fuse, the ABS fuse, and there it is, 70 amp EPS fuse. So you could go ahead and take that guy out and check it, but I've already done that and I know it's good. And right underneath the steering wheel, we have a fuse box that's hidden right there. And you'll find it because the brake pedal to the emergency brake is right there. There's your fuel tab there. It's right there. There's your fuse panel. And in that fuse panel, I believe it's fuse 24. That fuse should be a 7.5 amp fuse. And I've checked them already. I've ohmed them out. And guess what? He's completely fine. That's not the issue for me, but you should check these fuses before you check anything else. Make sure that I'm telling you the right fuse though, okay? You have to double check in your manual. I believe mine was 24 and it's supposed to be a 7.5 amp fuse. And this is that new style fuse. At this point, the Honda CR-V is driving what seems like perfectly fine. You can steer with it, there are no lights on the dashboard, and my scanner isn't reporting an active code. So I think it's best to take it to a dealership and really narrow down what part is actually failed. Now that's going to cost me about $175 to $200 for the diagnostic, but the repair itself was quoted by the dealership at $2,300. Yes, you heard me right, $2,300. The EPS module itself is going to cost $700 from Honda America, and they don't have any in stock. The following images were provided by my friend Powerstroke Jude, who is a professional mechanic and has a channel here on YouTube, so go check him out, please. But they contain the procedure on how to remove and reinstall the EPS module. See, I really couldn't find it easily because I'm used to how they are on a Honda Civic near the passenger side door. With our diagnosis and the location of the EPS module, off to eBay I went because it was the only place I could find a used EPS module. I was able to source an EPS module for $100 versus the $700 to $800 brand new from Honda America. And it was the best decision I made because it is working perfectly. Please note, I did buy the extended warranty through eBay from Allstate to ensure the longevity of the part. We begin the replacement procedure by first de-energizing the system by removing the power cables from the battery again. So let's go ahead and start working on this guy. Now that we know what's going on, it's an EPS module that we paid the dealership to diagnose for us, and they've narrowed it down and said it is a failed EPS module. First, let's remove the driver's side undercover that would be near your knees if you were driving so that we can expose the wiring and the EPS module and get its location. To identify the location of the EPS module, find your brake pedal and your gas pedal and look towards the firewall and up. This module comes with a surprise. It has an aftermarket auto start brain zip tied in front of it. I've gone ahead and cut the two cable ties that were holding it, and now it seems to be hanging from the top. Now that we've gone ahead and moved that auto start brain out of the way, we can see the EPS module, the bracket, and the nuts that hold it together. But on the very top of the EPS module, there's a hidden nut. It's a 10 millimeter one that you really can't get to easily. We need to disconnect those cables, and you do that by pulling on the white tab and they come down. The plan is to take off only this nut because the other legs of the bracket are hooks. Let's explore the EPSM bracket. You'll notice that two of the legs, the upper leg and the middle leg, are hook type, but the bottom leg actually has a hole in it. So that's the one we got to remove that nut off completely so that you could take off the EPS module along with the connectors. Please note that the connector has very small pins that you could break, so be very careful. See these guys right here? These are like levers. You got to kind of bring them down. This white guy right here. This white thing, you gotta bring it down, and now it'll come right off like that. See that? Now that guy came right out. Now we've got to do the same thing with this guy. He's a little harder because you've got this gearbox on the side here. So you want to get a little screwdriver and try to bring him down if you can't do it with your finger. Now the interesting thing about these levers is you just don't want to pry down. You want to stick a screwdriver in there, pull it that way, the opposite, and then start pulling down. So this guy right here, you got to pry that way and then down. And here she comes. There's the tight wire right here. You got to be careful you don't mess that up. So I got to drop the camera, guys. I soon find out that that second connector I can't get down because the electronic gas pedal is in the way. Unlike older cars where they had an actual wire going into the gas pedal, this actually has an electronic component to it. It's got a connector and it has 3 nuts holding it against the firewall. That's that gas pedal right there. You'll notice it's labeled A8, and you have to actually take off the 3 nuts, and you don't have to take off the connector.
And there you go. There's that guy right there. Sorry, the light moved on me. But there you go, that's that guy. And there's the other guy. They're disconnected.
So I've gone ahead and loosened the two fasteners or nuts, the one in the middle leg and the one at the bottom leg of the bracket for the EPS module. But the hardest one to get to is the top leg, which is a 10mm nut. I'm doing my best to show you with my phone how it's buried in there, but you just need a small extension and a 10mm socket and some patience, and you just need to loosen it. You don't need to take it out all the way. As a matter of fact, please don't take it out all the way. You will lose that nut. Trust me, it's a tough one. But as soon as you loosen it up just enough to take that leg out, you're done.
All right, guys, I've got the new module hung. There it is. But basically, you just gotta wiggle it all the way out. And yeah, I loosened that top one out. What helped me is to put a flashlight, you see it right there? Kind of put it inside there so that I could see. Once I felt the fastener in the socket, I was able to just start turning. Make sure you use a 10mm socket. And that top one, you don't have to take out all the way. You just take it out a little bit so you could slide the module out. And that seems to have done it. So now it's just to start putting everything in reverse and see what I can do. Now, in order to hang that light there pretty good, I did take off this bottom part right there. That's just all clipped on. I used my hand and it came right out. All right, guys, hard part's done. I've cinched down all 3 nuts, and that's exactly where it needs to be and how it's supposed to be. Next, we're gonna go ahead and reinstall those cables. I'm not gonna show it on camera because it goes on just the way you took it off. And it's so tight in here, it's hard for me to show you guys. That was actually quite simple. Just push them in, just make sure you go the right way. There's real small pins. You don't wanna screw up, you'll bend them. Now that those are in and that lever is clicked in, that white lever, you push it in till the whole bracket that holds all those little wires goes all the way in. Push that in hard. Now, when I say hard, I don't mean Hulk strength, guys. Just, you know, be careful. Now, we got to put the pedals back together, the electronic pedal. All right, guys, we've got everything back together. We've got the EPS module there. The electronic gas pedal is back. And everything's back the way it should be. Clipped up everything around. And now we just got to put the battery back on and see if everything's okay. But that's how you replace an EPS module on these things, guys.
I know I wasn't able to give you the perfect shot as to when I removed the EPS module and hung up the new one. I promise you, it's very simple to do. It just takes a little wiggling. Unfortunately, it was dark outside. I had limited time and it was difficult to video in that area. But I want to thank my friend PowerStroke Jude for giving us the information from ALLDATA. That helped a lot. I also want to thank my buddy, mi hermano, mi amigo, Jay Hu, who after surveying the job that I had to do, said, hey, you don't have to remove so many parts from the dashboard. ALLDATA is being too safe. And he was right. They were being way too safe. I didn't have to remove anything besides one plastic piece, which you saw in the video. This is Ed the Old Tech Guy telling you I love you, and I know you can do this.